The title is It Is Not About, the delay is not about you. And we're coming from John, the 9th chapter, verses 1 through 34. I'm going to paraphrase quite a bit. This is the story of the man. Jesus heals the man who was born blind. So to give a summary, there was a boy who was born blind. Fast forward, he's a grown man, and he's been a beggar at the gate. And so people have seen him. If you can imagine, in those days, they had big walls around the city, and to get in and out of the city, you had to go through a gate. And so you have this man sitting at the gate begging. Imagine him with a cup. And he's sitting there, and they're like, oh, that's the blind man. Oh, that's the blind man. You just see him every day going in and out. Well, Jesus is walking along, and he saw the man, and one of the disciples says, why was he born blind? And Jesus responds, it was not because his sins or his parents' sins. This happened so the power of God could be seen in him. That's in verse 2 and 3 that I just read. So basically, it's going backwards and forth. This is where Jesus spits into the mud and makes the mud and puts it over his eyes and heals him. And then when you jump to verse 13, it's talking about how the Pharisees, everybody's amazed. How can he see? We know that that's the guy that's been blind. The Pharisees were asking, well, how did he do it? And then he even quizzed the parents, are you sure he was born blind? They were like, yes, this is still the same person. He is our son who was born blind. I'm going to ask everybody to look at this in a different perspective, because I'm sure you're sitting there going, what does the story of healing a blind man have to do with the delay? He was born blind. He's a grown man now. So what about that section that has been skipped over? So if you're born blind or with whatever ailment or situation, he had to grow up blind. The parents had to make all kinds of accommodations for him. They had to change what they were doing. They had to teach him a different way. They probably had to situate the house a different way. Then he's a kid. He has to go to school. I don't know if they had a blind school back then in those days, but they probably had to teach him different because he can't see the lesson. He has to. They have to talk to him. They have to do things different. Can you actually teach him how to cook? Can he learn how to hunt? Can he actually hold a job? As a teenager, what are the different things that he had to go through because he was blind? And so I'm thinking he didn't have employment because what was he doing? He was at the gate begging. And everybody was like, is that the same beggar that was at the gate? And they said, yes. So let's think about the delay from when he was born, all the changes him and his family had to go through for him to get to the point where he's the beggar at the gate. And then Jesus healed. Doesn't tell you how old a man he was. He just said that he was a grown man. So let's just say he's in his 40s. That's 40-something years he's been blind and making adjustments. His parents might be in their 60s. So that's 40 years of their life. That's a long time. So when we talk about the delay, you might be going through something, but you don't know how long you're going through it. You could also be going through something for other people's benefit. The blind man here, he was the one who had the infirmity, who had the affliction. But guess what? In verse 4, Jesus says we must in 3, I'm sorry. It is not because of his sins or his parents' sins. Jesus answered, this happened so the power of God could be seen in him. So in other words, the delay was years, at least 20, 30, 40 years. There are things that we go through that, number one, has nothing to do with us. You could be delayed / going through situations that you don't know how long they're going to last to benefit other people. So that God can show you, I'm still in control. And this is only so that when I take you out of it and fix it, remedy it, heal it, that you can do nothing but give me the glory. Because this can only be done because it's God's power that did it. And in this situation, that's what happened. Jesus healed him and nobody wanted to. Are you sure that's the same guy that was sitting there? So in your own life, how long are you willing to be long suffering, as they say? How long are you willing to put in the prayer time? How long are you willing to work until God actually works it out? Because he's going to work it out in ways that we don't even think about, because his ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. So the delay has nothing to do with you a lot of times. It's for the people around you. I'm going to use my family as an example. My son, he's diagnosed with sickle cell. There are some things that God has shifted in my family because he has the sickle cell. The sickle cell has its restrictions. There are things he couldn't do. And in turn, guess what? The household had to shift, to change, to accommodate the care that he needed. So God was using that. There have been plenty of times people would tell me, oh my God, you don't realize your son has helped me do this, or watching you take care of your son, or watching how y'all did what y'all did to take care of him has affected other people. You don't know what you and your when you thinking I'm not moving, I'm making progress, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. You don't know why God has you there. So I don't want anybody to get discouraged when you see there's a delay, because you don't know what the real reason for the delay is. And it could be that you are doing everything you're supposed to do. I'm taking care of him right. I'm doing this, taking him to the doctor. I'm doing this. But some other things had to be on pause. Just like here, his parents had to make accommodations for him when he was a kid. Does the Bible actually spell that out? But let's use our sanctified imagination and think about it. So just because there seems to be a delay, because even when God healed him, there was a time where at this point in time, Jesus was going around doing miracles. So it wasn't by accident that he passed the person at the gate and said, okay, Jesus already knew what he was going to do. But it was for the people who were around to see the miracle, to believe that Jesus was the healer and the person that he was. It was just so that his glory and power of God could be seen in him. So just keep that in mind. The delay might not have anything to do with you at all. So keep doing what you're doing. Keep staying on the right path. Keep praying. Keep whatever the sacrifice is. Keep doing whatever you're supposed to be doing, because the delay probably doesn't have anything to do with you. It might be benefiting your children, your grandchildren, your legacy, your spouse, your in-laws, your extended cousins, your family, the people at your job. You don't know who's watching. So just don't get discouraged in the delay. That is all I have. Hey.
and think of something beyond yourself. Pam, and everybody knows, as a parent, you put your child first is what you're supposed to do. But in situations like this, you really have to lock down, because that is the difference between life and death. That is the difference between pain and suffering on a daily basis. And we have family members that deals with sickle cell. We have several family members who dealt with this illness. So that's all we have. Father God, we just want to close out by saying thank you again for this day. We thank you for everyone coming on this line. We are family here. We are here to get the word, to get the information, to prayerfully, Lord, that this information, and I know it did, that it resonates with every person on here, that they can take this with them and walk away with their own situations and say, it's cool that I was delayed. I'm glad. And we all can attest to the